Hello, everybody. This is Immigration with Katia, and I am attorney Katia Quiroz. I practice primarily doing immigration 100%, and I already have a program in Spanish called Inmigrando con Katia, where I talk for a couple of years about immigration laws. I answer questions live, and I also try to share God's love for the immigrant community. So today, I would like to start doing my same show, my same Spanish show in English, and see if that way I can help lots and lots of immigrants who need information to to take better decisions when doing their immigration paperwork. Okay, so let's start. Today we're going to talk about what is going on in immigration at the start of 2020. It is January 2020, and many things have changed during 2019 for immigrants in the United States. And so we're going to talk about some of them. Number one, today we're going to talk about public charge. What is public charge? Well, many years ago, exactly in 1997, the government wrote a law that says that we cannot give a green card to a person who um, the immigration officer believes will use public benefits in the future. This is not to punish someone for whatever they did in the past. The law looks forward to if that immigrant will use public benefits in the future. However, if the person is currently using public benefits or the person has used public benefits in the past, there is a very high chance, a very big probability that the person will use public benefits in the future. So up until last year, that law was barely used because immigrants in the United States cannot access public benefits on their own, because most likely because they don't have a social security number. So the number one requisite to apply for public benefits such as Medicaid or housing or food stamps is that you have your own social security number. Undocumented immigrants do not have it, so therefore they cannot apply for benefits. However, last year the government changed the public charge rule, and the rules are the ones that figure out the way how to implement the law. So up until last year, the rule said, okay, if you use public benefits, you cannot get a green card, but immigrants cannot get a public benefits on their own, so it was not an issue. Well, now the government has changed the rule, and it says if you or your direct family members, if someone in your household is using public benefits, or your petitioner is using public benefits, then it is most likely, it is more probable than not, that you will use public benefits in the future. And that has been a major shift in the way we look at permanent residency in the United States. Because many of our immigrants, undocumented immigrants especially, have a family member, a direct family member that is currently using medical insurance or food stamps from the government. So it is a serious problem for us. Right now, this new rule has not been implemented. It's currently under litigation, but it most likely will become effective pretty soon. We filed 3 lawsuits, and we have already lost 2 of them. And so we are just waiting to know what happens with the third one before the new rule becomes active. So what do we do? How do we start this year? Well, the first thing we need to think about is how do we do our taxes as immigrants? Before we had an idea that if we didn't have a social security number, we didn't have to do taxes, or if we got paid cash, we didn't have to file taxes. That's not true. As an immigrant, if you are making money in the United States, you need to you have to file your tax return, and you have to pay the IRS whatever monies are owed. So during 2020, please, if you're an immigrant, please file your tax return, pay whatever is owed to the IRS, because those taxes will be reviewed by an immigration officer at the moment that someday you will apply for your green card. So no matter what anybody says, as an immigration lawyer, I'm telling you, please file your tax return. It is extremely important because at some point in the future, you will apply for your green card and you will need this tax return. Now, how important is to do this tax return? As important as it is to do the tax return is to do it right. And how do you do it right? Well, there are many things that a tax preparer is going to have to look at before doing your taxes. They're going to have to look at the poverty guidelines. The government is saying that if you make less than 125% of the poverty guidelines, then you're poor, you're an indigent, and you may be a public charge. So there are a lot of factors that immigration attorneys and tax preparers and accountants are going to have to work together to help an immigrant do their taxes correctly. So that's the number one issue, the public charge. And in our other programs, we will be talking more about public charge, more about taxes. So Immigration with Katia will air every Monday in English in this channel, Katia Pereira TV. I'm also working with other big communities in social media to see if we can spread the word. But for now, it'll be in Immigrating with Katia. And we'll talk about public charge and taxes. So number 3, DACA. What is going on with our dreamers? Well, right now, our dreamers are being able to renew their employment authorizations, but they cannot file new DACA applications. Our dreamers can renew their employment authorizations, and I am asking dreamers to renew their employment authorizations a year before they expire. It normally takes 7 months for that employment authorization to be processed, and the dreamer will receive a new employment authorization. But I am asking that they renew as early as 1 year before the expiration date, because we don't know what is going to happen when the Supreme Court decides in favor or against DACA. So just to be on the safe side, it is important for all dreamers to renew their employment authorizations a year before they expire. If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the dreamers, then the government will have to implement new measures to terminate DACA. So one way or another, DACA will be terminated. It's just a matter of when. And if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the government, then DACA will probably be dead on the day of the ruling. So we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is that in order for our dreamers to have an employment authorization for as long as possible, we need to renew as soon as we can. And we know that we can renew our employment authorizations a year before it expires. Okay, so we talk about public charge and we talk about DACA. And now we're going to talk about asylum. What is going on with asylums? Well, over the past few years, thousands and thousands of people crossed the United States border without documents, asking for political asylum. And political asylum is something that it's a type of protection that you ask in another country when you feel that your life is in danger, that you're being persecuted because of your race, your nationality, your origin, your religion, or because you're a member of a particular social group and your government is not going to protect you. And so this is what has been happening for the past few years. The government has taken many measures to stop the influx of people coming, especially from Central America, to apply for asylum. And so right now, all the people who is arriving at the border are not being allowed in the United States. They are being sent to safe third countries, which are countries that have signed agreements with the government of the United States to receive all the people who want to apply for asylum in the United States. So they will wait in these countries. So for example, if you are from El Salvador and you arrived through the Mexican border, they will send you to wait in Mexico or to wait in Guatemala. If you are from Guatemala, they will send you to El Salvador or to Mexico. And so people right now, they're not letting them in. They're putting them in a queue, in a waiting list. And whoever is allowed in is being placed on detention. and people are being processed by the immigration courts at the border. So it is a very tough situation. Most of the asylum applications of all of these people who have come from Central America and Mexico are being denied in the courts in the United States, because unfortunately there's no asylum for violence. When a country suffers the amount of violence that the countries in Central America are suffering, what other countries normally do is they provide refugee status. But the United States has not signed any agreement to provide refugee status with any of these countries, and therefore there is not really a real way to protect all these people. So we talk about public charge, DACA, asylum, and now we're going to talk about TPS. TPS, it's a special type of protection similar to DACA to people of certain countries, which countries have been devastated by natural disasters. And so TPS hasn't been provided for many, many, many years for countries, Latin American countries. Right now, we have TPS for El Salvador since 2001, for Honduras since 2000. We have TPS for Yemen. We have TPS for Syria. And so there are some countries that currently have TPS, which means that if the immigrant came prior to certain date and applied for an employment authorization, they are receiving an employment authorization, but they will never be able to convert that employment authorization into a green card, because TPS is only temporary protected status. It's not something permanent. So right now, TPS for El Salvador, for Honduras, has been canceled. And so right now, we are litigating this cancellation, and for that reason, TPS has been extended until January of 2021. In the meantime, all I can say is that if you are TPS from any country and you have a son who is 21 years old or older and it's a U.S. citizen, or you are married to a U.S. citizen and you live in the states that are part of the 9th or the 6th Circuit, you may be able to apply for the green card through our family petition without leaving the United States. So for those who have TPS, they will understand what I'm saying. For those who do not have TPS and don't understand what I'm saying right now, in a new program, in a new chapter, I will talk about how some people, some immigrants, can apply for a green card when they marry a U.S. citizen or when they have a U.S. citizen son or daughter. And some of them, even though they have the family member, cannot apply for the green card inside the United States. There is a lot of nuances and a lot of things we need to discuss, but we will do it in the next show. I hope that you like this very brief review of everything that is going on in immigration in 2020. And I hope that you will tune out again next Monday in another Immigration with Katia. Bye.